Welcome to PKC This Week. Where we talk all things professional kennel club. Found only on Cane Stream Media. Brought to you by Elite Nutrition, Joy Dog Food, and the Professional Kennel Club. Now, let's start the show.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, we are here with another PKC This Week, episode 2. And this week you're joined by PKC Field Rep Miss Kristi Denney, formerly known as Brett Denney's wife. Now Brett Denney is known as Kristi Denney's husband.
That's right.
We're gonna talk a little major event prep. We're gonna talk about the national races, a few other things, but Kristi, let's get started with, we got Super Stakes coming up. Me and Shane talked about that this weekend, and I don't think a lot of people understand what it takes to put on a major event like Super Stakes, where you have 300 or 400 dogs competing. The place is always packed. There's a lot to do. There's a lot to keep track of. You and the other ladies and the people behind the desk, the panels, Shane don't do a lot, but I mean, let's be honest. You guys, that's right. You guys are the glue that keeps this together. So kind of walk me through what your process is whenever you arrive, make the long drive to Salem and get started.
Well, it starts so much longer, so much before us getting there, with getting the guides together and everything. That's an ongoing thing from one event to the next, securing those spots and the permits and everything like that. But once we get there, we're set up. I've already got all the scorecards, the draw cards, everything printed. The office has got all the entry cards printed with the entry labels. We're all doing that this week, the week before. So once we get there, set up, get all the computers, the printers, the copiers, mark all the guides and the judges on the entry slips. It's a handful that everybody doesn't get to see every time. So
I don't think, and I was one of those guys until I started covering the hunt, because I was always gone on Thursday. I always got beat on Thursday, so I never got to be around Friday and Saturday. But that office is not there all the time. No. All those printers and copiers and laptops and stuff like that, that's not just sitting at Salem waiting for you guys to get back. That's stuff you guys have to move around every event.
Yeah, I wish it would just be there every time. Just give us a permanent spot and be done. But
there you go.
Not that lucky.
What is something that happens at Super Stakes that people don't see other than that? I mean, because we get the complaints, and I was one of those guys too until I really seen how difficult a lot of this stuff was, and I still do it sometimes. I complain on the internet, but we get, we're not getting the scores fast enough, or it's not coming out until the first of the morning or something like that. But what a lot of people don't realize is you guys are doing that real time as fast as you can possibly do it. I mean, what are the holdups on some of the updates? Some typical holdups.
Typical holdups would be, not getting scorecards back in time, having people not sending the pictures like they're supposed to. And what a lot of people don't realize is when we get there to take the entries, we're there until the last scorecard comes in. We don't go to bed till the sun comes up. We sleep then, and that's when everybody's calling our phones, having questions. You're trying to sleep, your phone's going off. It's like, whew. Calm down, everybody. We got to sleep too. But
so don't call at 9 a.m. is what you're saying with the question.
Oh yeah, 100%. And I don't know if you've ever sat around Shane, but he has his phone set where it blinks whenever it rings. Boy, that about give you a seizure. It just.
And there's, a lot of times there's a late round question. The panel has to sit there all the time too. And so say there's a late round question and it involves having to come back to the clubhouse. and doing all that stuff. There's an appeal process. That takes a long time, especially when someone's hunting 45 minutes away from Salem.
It does. It does. And, we try to get everybody out as quick as we can back to the woods for the late round. But there's going to be the one person, there's always one person, usually the first one in, last one out. But always the last person to come in, they've either...
You're talking about Bobby Bird.
Yeah. Well, he just takes his time anyways. But no, I'm just kidding. He does come with RCs. So, plus for him. But no, catching dogs and everything, people don't account for that. Some people are having to get, people come pick them up, can't find the dog. There's a lot of different things that go on. But those panels, they can get good sometimes, and it takes a while.
Super Stakes is one of PKC. I mean, it is a very unique event, only to PKC. It's been tried. CHKC tried to do a program very similar to that. We all know how that panned out. There's been some other people, the UKC performance program. I see they're just now ending that. They've shut it down now. I seen that on the internet, but Super Stakes has remained one of the top premier events, and it's only to PKC. I mean, it's the only kennel club with a program like that, and it's focused on pups. And so we wanted to talk about the national leaders. Brett, very fortunate, not fortunate, but his hard work paid off last year. He had the national pup leader. He had the national female leader, which happened to be the same dog. But let's talk about the national races. We've got the pups, the seniors, or the pups, the male, the female, and the youth. Yes. What is the national races, and what do they consist of, and how does someone go about competing in that and trying to win that title?
Well, the only money that counts towards a national race will be like open event money and pup derby money. All the pro classics and stuff like that doesn't go into it. You're steadily running just open events. Yeah. And I will tell you from a personal standpoint, if your marriage ain't strong, you probably shouldn't do it. So it takes a toll.
Yes.
Because you're every night, you're getting ready to go to the woods, and there's usually, two dogs neck and neck, just like last year, Drunk and Freak were neck and neck all year long. And it came down, I did the math, there was $373.29 between the two. So, I mean, they were up in the $9,000 in open money. So just imagine how many hunts that is.
Well, you figure what's the biggest open hunt? Does added purse doesn't count in that either. And so the most you can win would be at $100 open event. And so the most you can win is probably a couple $100 at a time, $205, something like that, or $210, So if you're in the $9,000 range, that is a lot of open events. Not many dogs can even handle that.
Yeah. And I mean, they were running nonstop. And this year it seems like there's already two that are running nonstop. Thankfully, not one, of course. But there is Drunk's littermate is leading the female race right now. She's got right at $3,000 one. And we have another male pup from down here in Alabama, South Alabama. They're running neck and neck. I mean, they're right there at each other's back door, and they're going for it. So he's sitting right at $3,500 in open money. Really?
What are the standings right now in the pups and the males and all that stuff?
Right now, Willie's Rack 'em Up Cash, which is owned by Morrison and Parker out of Alabama. They have $3,426, and he's leading the male and the pup. And then Judy Creek Drunk Rodeo Queen out of Alabama as well. It's leading the females with $2,974.13. So they got
Drunk. That's the litter mate to Brett's female, yeah.
Yeah, that's litter mate to Drunk. And so breaking them up is like $452 apart right now. Yeah. So it's tight. It doesn't sound like tight when you say $450, but it is.
It is, especially this early in the year.
Exactly. It's only April, so
yeah.
We'll see.
And so it's an October to October race, correct?
Yes, it will end September 30th.
Yeah. What about the other races, the males and the youth and all that stuff?
The youth right now, last year, Kelsey Stallard won it with $4,091.11. And this year, Bo Kelly's leading with $1,603 showing right now. he could have more money out there.
And with the youth, that is all open event money, just like the adults. And it doesn't have to be a youth event to compete in the national race.
Yeah, all open money.
Yeah. And so these races and the super stakes and all that stuff are unique, very unique to PKC. What do you think, just in your opinion, what would make Brett, who's obviously an idiot, driving all over the country trying to win an open event, but what makes these guys think, you know what, I went, because Zach McBee did it too with Hunter. He worked Hunter to death that one year. Some other guys that I know have just put it in their mind that, I'm going to win the pup race, or I'm going to win the national male race, or I'm going to win the youth race, or whatever. What do you think drives that?
It's just hard work and dedication. I mean, it's definitely, you're not doing it for the money. You're doing it for the love of the sport. You're going for that title because each leader gets $1,000 at the end of the year. You got more than that in gas,
Yeah.
Way more. So it's just about the prestige of having it.
So Brett won 9,000 last year?
Mm-hmm.
And then he got 1,000. He got 2,000, I guess, for winning the female and the pup.
Mm-hmm. And
so he had 11 grand in total earning. What do you think it cost to win that 11 grand?
Oh, I don't even want to speak on it. I don't want to think about it. Yeah, like you said, if you really think about it, it's a lot. It's because you're not counting how many that he went to that he didn't win.
Yeah,
because you're not going to win every
gas and wear and tear on a vehicle and food because you're out on the road and all that stuff. So I mean, it's not like a pro classic where you got a chance to actually do a little better than break even.
Yeah.
Your best bet, I'd say, is probably break even.
Yeah.
But you get a really cool plaque and you get to say you're the national female leader.
You do. You get that for a couple weeks, and then somebody else comes in and gets it. So.
Yeah. What does Brett got for Super State?
Well, I'm gonna be honest with you. I don't get up in his business with the dogs. There's like a hard line between those kennels and what I do. Like I couldn't tell you how many's out there right now because I just have to keep it separate, But I think he was talking about he has a 1-year-old because I told him that he was going to end up pulling his hair out for real. 1-year-olds make anybody go crazy. You don't know what's going to happen. It could be really good or
about
really
about the move to Salem. You think that was a good idea for Super State?
Well, I personally do. I love Salem. There's no better place than Salem for a coon hunt, and I'm really excited about it.
Yeah, I am too. I mean, Super Stakes, especially the spring. The fall's fun, but it's so hot coming into fall Super Stakes. Preparing a dog going into that September, especially down there where you guys are at, which a lot of guys from where I'm at are complaining about the same thing during the spring because it's wintertime. It's hard to get a dog ready. But me, I hunt in the south in the winter, and then I just come up here when the weather gets back nice again. So it's not as hard for me. But that preparation for spring Super Stakes and going to spring Super Stakes is one of the best things for a hunter. But it's also a unique hunt for you guys. I mean, what separates it from the World Hunt, Nationals, and things like that from just the PKC point of view?
From the backhanded side of it, on our side, just keeping everything with the divisions separate. Like you have no idea how difficult that really is. Somebody might hunt a sophomore one night that's guiding. Mm-hmm. We've got them down for a sophomore guide, and you got to keep them forecast together so they can be bracketed. And then, I'm hunting a junior. It's like, you're not guiding then, Because it's a handful to keep them all separate. And then once you get to Thursday and Friday, you got the freshmen coming in. And so you're just adding more dogs on the top. But thankfully, Friday, you are getting to the elimination part of the rest of the Super Stakes.
What about keeping handlers separate? Because, just like in my instance, JR calls me the other day and he's like, hey, I got you reserved. You and Casey and 10 other people, that are JR wall dogs. And then you got the Icraney dogs and the Horseshoe Kennel dogs and the, all the guys because a lot of these bigger kennels, they'll pick up 4, 5, 6 spring 1-year-olds right before Super State. They're over there getting their name put on dogs on Wednesday that they didn't own on Tuesday and stuff like that. How hard is all that to keep track of?
Exactly. I will say one thing. If you think your dog is any good and you might sell it at the Super Stakes, bring your papers. You got to bring the papers. But
I'm
no,
guilty.
I can't tell you how many times I've seen dogs, Monday night they're hunting as like a granny dog, and the next night they could be, horseshoe kennels. You never know what you're going to get. More dogs get sold at the super stakes, in my opinion, than anywhere, because you see the potential in them. And you're like, oh, I really like that. I can't tell you how many people come and dig through the scorecards and they're like, hey, let me see Monday, Tuesday. By Wednesday, that dog's gone. It's sold. So.
Yeah, and guys like me that sell a lot of young dogs, I buy this little pup out here that I got the other day. My mind is next spring super stakes. A month before super stakes, I'm going to get a pretty good penny out of that pup.
Exactly.
Everybody. And then if I don't get it, maybe I can go out there and I can win a couple earlies, or maybe get her in on Monday or Tuesday. Yeah. I don't care to hunt her on Friday. Anybody wants to write a big enough check, I'm good with it. So a lot of people go out there with that mindset, and a lot of people come out there with their checkbooks with the mindset, I'm looking for a dog.
Yeah. And, just like you can buy them that are looking good, you can get one that is, already got a name for itself. If it starts looking bad, I'm down on my dog. I'm moving on to something else. Hey, let me pick that up real quick. I'm going to get it at a good price. So
one dog that comes to mind is when Sluggo and Nikki and all them went through Jewel back 7 or 8 years ago. And I remember I beat the brakes off Jewel so bad on Tuesday night that Waylon Morrell got mad and sold her. He wanted to do worse than sell. She sold her. And next thing I know, it's Friday, and here comes Jewel, and she's had her hands changed twice since then. I think Nikki bought her, and then Sluggo bought her off Nikki, and she ends up winning the whole dang thing.
It's wild. It's absolutely wild. It's like a crapshoot when you get up there. You're rolling the dice on what's going on.
Especially with 1-year-olds.
Especially with 1-year-olds. That and freshmen. The freshmen, I'm just like, I feel bad sometimes having to put guides and judges on there. It's like, I'm sorry.
I've never competed or walked along or been on a freshman cast, but I should do that. I want to find just the biggest train wreck of dumb pups and just go out there and enjoy myself, because I think that would be fun.
It's either really, really good or really, really bad, but we like it either way. They got to learn something.
All right, Kristi, I think that's all we got this week for this week in PKC. Is there anything you want to add before we shut this off?
No, y'all just get ready. Get your dogs ready and bring your papers.
All right. That is Kristi Denney, field rep for the Professional Kennel Club. This is PKC this week. We thank you for joining us, and we'll see you next week.